Uh, all right. I see the indication that says we are live. So we are now live. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Once again, JB Wins is here with my boy Dogon SS for another Conscious Approach video. We certainly appreciate everybody for tuning in to the channel and to the video. We certainly appreciate the support. Uh, two clips came around my way over the course of the last 7 days that I thought would be kind of interesting to react to. One of them comes by way of a TikToker. Now, this woman's name is Roxy E. Roxy. I don't know if it's the E is supposed to be like, Spanish, so I don't know if that's supposed to be Roxy and Roxy. I think she's Latino. She appears to be Latino. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, her name is Roxy. Roxy, she's a TikToker. And she took it upon herself to put out a video explaining to women the strategy involved in manipulating men into doing whatever you want them to do and giving them whatever they want men to give them. So if you sort of if you want money or if you are in need of any kind of item or if there's something that you just want in general, these are the ways to go about doing it from a mind game standpoint in order to manipulate men into doing what you want. And I want to play this clip because I want to show you guys what these women think of you. That's kind of the main reason why I wanted to do this, because some of y'all need to be put on game, and some of y'all need to wake up. And I don't mean woke in the social justice sense. I mean woke in the y'all asleep and you're being played out here in these streets, or at least to a certain extent. And you're doing it willfully at this point, which means that you can't really place the blame on them. The blame really ought to be placed at your feet, guys, men. So we'll go ahead and play this, see what she had to say. TikToker Roxy talking about how you manipulate men for money.
Hey girls, so I want to give you girls a little bit more tips on how I manipulate men. And I told you girls, when you first meet a guy, listen to everything they're saying because you can use their strength and their weaknesses against them. So for example, if they're a businessman and they're constantly bragging about how good they are, their businesses are going, you can say, babe, I know that you're struggling a little bit and I'm not too sure if you can help me out, but A, B, and C, D, this is what I need. They are going to be triggered. They're going to be like, wait, what do you mean, babe? I can help you out. I'm not struggling financially. Like, what are you talking about? You are triggering emotion out of them to get something you want. Do you see where I'm coming? And you girls are like so scared. Y'all just have to be bold for this and make it sound very innocent. You do not want to offend him. We can do this with our baby voices. If he's a doctor, you can use his strengths against him. Like, he's super smart. You can say, babe, I know you're just a doctor, but I know you're just a doctor, but do you know anything about this? He'd be like, yeah, just because I'm a doctor doesn't mean I don't know. He will give you full-on details on everything. He'll probably even do research to tell you about this topic. Like, use these guys' strength to your advantage to get what you want out of them. For example, if he used to say he used to have a really abusive dad, you can call him later on in the relationship. This is all fake. You can make up a fake ass story and be like, baby, I just got off the phone with my dad and he was yelling at me and he told me like he's not paying my car insurance anymore and I just don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. Do you have any advice? Now that he has that kind of connection with you and the dad relationship with his, he is going to step up and he's going to be like, well, babe, how much is it? How much is it? You know, like, are you okay? Yada, yada. It's all a big ass mind game that use their strengths against them, their weaknesses against them. And even when I was telling girls, like in the beginning, just listen to everything they're saying so you have an idea on who you're really talking to, how the way you can talk to them. Because it's just like very like reverse psychology. Think about it. You tell somebody they're not going to do something, they're going to do something to prove to you that they can, especially if they can do it. You know what I mean? And like, remember I told you girls, oh, boost the fuck out of their ego. The reason why I tell you girls to do that is because I want you girls to break their ego before you ask for something. So let's say before you ask for a phone or something to get paid, you can be like, babe, back then, did they have phones? So you can remind him that you're the prize and he's older than you. he's gonna be like, oh, yeah, this, that, and then you can ask him for something because now he's reminded, oh, she's the pretty girl here. I'm the one, she's the prize. Gotta put these guys in check sometimes.
So, this is what these women think about y'all.
Great.
The biggest issue with this clip is the fact that for her and for women who operate in that space, there are legitimate applications to those schools of thought, meaning that she has to have employed those things on numerous bases and it must have worked in her favor. Otherwise, why feel so confident to actually put that out in a video? One of the central themes that I always bring about when I talk about this kind of stuff is progeniting behavior. What is the cause of certain things that you perceive to be an issue? So I know that the knee-jerk reaction for most men who might watch that video is, see, all of these chicks out here are, insert adjective, gold digger, thoughts, whatever word you want to put in there to make women, to make the case that most, if not all, women operating out here in these streets are purely operating opportunistically when it comes to men. But the idea is, or at least what I try to suggest, sometimes I do it better than other times, but what I at least try to suggest, or I try to at least posit the question, okay, bro, what do you think happened first? Did she start to just do this stuff inherently because she was like, let me take advantage of these guys? Or did she receive a certain type of behavior or treatment that made her feel as though this is the way that she should go about doing her business? Now, in my opinion, I think it was the latter. This is, in my opinion, so I'm not saying that I'm right or that everybody should agree, but in my opinion, whenever you reduce the worth or value of yourself or any relationship to what you can provide materialistically, you are going to create a situation in which these women are just going to take advantage of that dynamic and siphon you for your resources. And at the end of the day, I feel like you have no one to blame but yourself. Like, there are schools of thought on this. Like, there are curriculums. You've referenced before about how women are being taught to be megathoughts and whatnot. Like, these are schools of thought. These chicks are putting out videos on social media, on TikTok, explaining how to manipulate men for what you want. And it's working. And you guys at this point, I would imagine you have such access to social media that you have to know that there are women who are doing this purposefully. And yet you fall into it and you allow it to happen anyway because you tether so much of your worth juxtaposed to women to your money and resources. So all you're really doing is feeding the beast. And then you wonder why relationships are in such a state of anarchy and are so out of control. Again, I would never sit up here and say that women are completely to blame. I would never sit up here and say that women are completely blameless. Are there certain aspects of their nature when it comes to relationships and all of this good stuff, dating, however you want to phrase it? Are there certain aspects of their nature when it comes to this that they could stand to work on? Absolutely. I merely ask you what came first. Okay, this is a chicken or the egg argument on my behalf. What came first? Chicken or the egg? What came first? Women behaving opportunistically or men giving women a reason to behave opportunistically? I think a lot of men gave women the reason to behave opportunistically. Over the course of a couple generations, men operated in this lane, women acquiesced to it because they said, oh, this dude got this over here and he just want to get with me because I look good and so I can upgrade my situation because he has that. And then the guy just did it just because he could. And now this is what you got. Roxy talking about this is how you manipulate men for money, for iPhones, for all of that kind of stuff. Whatever you want, we got it. We'll give it to you. And one thing that she did say that is valid is the subtle art of the proper employment of reverse psychology, especially with a man's ego. Whenever you make a man feel like he is not delivering with a certain degree of adequacy, he is going to do everything that he possibly can to reverse that inadequacy and to make you feel as though he is adequate. And the minute that you allow a woman to pick up on that inherent weakness, she is going to exploit it to the fullest extent. And so it becomes incumbent upon you as a man to learn how to control that, to learn how to understand that when she's doing it, it can be purposeful, and that it in no way is a reflection of your adequacy or lack thereof, but rather of her attempts to try and exploit your weakness. But unfortunately, it's a lot of us out here as men who just don't understand a lot of this stuff, and we just allow ourselves to be exploited for our weaknesses. And so this is what you get, man. These women are winning. Because we have basically created an environment in which, as long as you come to the table looking a certain kind of way, the world is your oyster. So there you go. Roxy talking about manipulating men for money, and it's plainly stated as ever, but it'll continue even though it's out there. It's not like that's gonna stop it from continue. Like it ain't like it's not like, oh, the cat's out of the bag. Like Watergate. Like, oh man, that was really happening. The government is corrupt. Let's try and stop the government from being corrupt. Nah, this thing is out there. It's not that big of a secret. It's just we don't seem to give a shit about it.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, honestly, I don't even know where to begin with this, because she was saying so many things that have so many avenues to them. I mean, the key takeaway is that she's manipulating men, but the psychosis throughout that whole tutorial was, I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't even know where to start. But for me, the way that I assess these situations, when I hear, women talk like that, and it's so advanced. And I don't mean advanced in the fact that, it's some new age stuff that no cutting edge. It's advanced in the fact that she has so much experience, like as you stated. She has enough experience to go, you know what, I'm gonna press record and tell other women about this. And she gets enough likes and follows from women that go, yeah, this is the game I've been looking for. Yeah. So she's definitely
not to cut you off, but let's not even she gets the likes from the women who are like, yes. But what about the likes that she gets from dudes who's just trying to creep on the posts?
I mean, yeah,
those are there too, and that adds to it.
And I can't speak for those guys. And honestly, I don't know what they got, but definitely there's guys shooting shots.
That's actively, what I'm saying.
Yeah, actively. Yeah. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. There's so many angles to this, and so as far as her gaining enough clout, it's kind of like rappers. So what's going on, and this is like a side note, but this is important for why people follow her and listen to this stuff. And so what's going on now with rap, especially as we saw with Young Thug and all that, all right, these guys are really doing this stuff. So when we were coming up, those guys were actors, and it was record label. They may have come from areas that were street, but more or less it was just like, these guys are actors, and we know that they're not doing anything that they talked about. If they talked about killing people, they really didn't kill anybody, but these kids are really killing people. They're really selling drugs, and they're really, out here wilding. And what happens is when they are really doing the stuff that's in their music, it has a level of authenticity in their voice, and the people love that. And for the longest, I really couldn't figure out why certain artists were blowing up. And then I found out that it's the realness in which they're speaking from. It's not so much bars. It's just the realness. And it's like, damn, bro, you're really painting this picture as if you really did this. And it's coming to find out that these kids are really doing this. And so, Young Thug was a big example, but there's other Rico acts, especially in Florida. They're not playing in Florida with Florida rappers, and they're just busting because these kids are really out here doing it. And so, but the the society has been brought to this area of entertainment where we want the filth, we want the trash, and we don't want, at the same time, we don't want them fake. And so when we hear the authentic ratchet come from somebody, because everybody wants ratchet, but when you hear authentic ratchet, that person automatically gets elevated. Cardi B, for instance.
Yeah.
And so for this woman here, I say all that to say that this woman here, she already has enough experience within her oozing that when she starts to speak the ratchet women propel her and put her on a pedestal, and then all of a sudden she's going viral and stuff. So we know of her because of her experience. And so what she's saying is actually true, but then you have to see of who are her victims.
Sure.
And so she already stated that, one of the insecurity cards that she plays is age. So she's clearly dealing with somebody in their older ages who's just super thirsty and ready to break bread, because money is not an issue to her victims. So what she does is she plays these. So this is the part that's misleading about her tutorials. She's not telling you about her victims or how they look or what their lifestyles are. She's really going after geezer men, and so guys that really can't do anything, so they really want sugar babies.
Mm-hmm.
So she's talking to that. The dangerous part about it is the average everyday girl who don't shoot like that, she's trying to use this from the guy at school,
Mm-hmm.
the guy she catches the bus with, the guy that she goes to work with. She's going to try this on a regular everyday guy. But this woman here is speaking to a whole level, another level of thottery. Because honestly, who's really falling for that foolishness? I get the whole dynamic of, reverse psychology and stuff like that. And women play their own cards. I'm not saying I'm immune to cards, but the things that she's saying that she's playing, all right, these are so, I don't know. Again, and there's another complex too of you want a daughter. You basically want a baby that you want to take care of. Like, that's weird. And so for that bracket of dudes that just want to pay for a sex slave and not even really get sex, and they just spend money on a woman, paying for affection, those guys. And so for those bracket of men that just pay for affection, yeah, I mean, this is the ecosystem. These type of women are in that type of waters. So my first initial, that's my first initial of me seeing this. And then the next thing is she's clear in her experience isn't from when she was in high school or middle school. She started this when she was a kid. So she manipulated her caregivers this way. So she's advanced beyond, dating. She's a manipulator by heart. She'll manipulate anybody. So she's not also she's not going to tell you she'll manipulate the women in her lives. How I manipulate men for money. That's just this. That's not what she also does off men. She'll manipulate anybody because if she wants it, she knows another way to circumvent to get it. So when you're dealing with people with this kind of spirit, it's like, hey, if there's any ladies out there that's listening to this, listen to the spirit that you're listening to and see if you want the life that this woman's going to have. And even if she has all the material stuff and, aesthetics or whatever going for her, all right, when that person is living such a shallow life, all right, on the outside, well, it's very clear that there's very shallow stuff going on the inside. So this type of woman, she can sit here and bark all she want and make it seem as though she's ahead of the game. All right. And she could very well much be. All right. But at the same time, all right, people that are this dedicated to the game, this far off into the game, all right, I really feel like these people get lost in the sauce. And they when they become and embody the game like her, these are people that you need to stay away from in general. So if you're talking to a hot girl, trying to have a hot girl summer, and she's spewing rhetoric like this or trying to play these types of games, well, you know what you're dealing with, and I would avoid it, So, that's my initial, at least, how I'm feeling about it right now.
Yeah, I just think that in society and in the culture, it's increasingly becoming more and more about the hot girl summer. In terms of the fact that that's just the behavior that you find inherent in most women nowadays. It's like that's the normal thing because we've talked about this before. When you've grown up and you're living in a world in which you've never known a world in which the internet didn't exist. So we're talking about those generations and all the ones that will proceed it. Like that is what is normal. To me, I just kind of feel like whatever we would characterize as thottery, ratchet, whatever word you want to use, I feel like those adjectives are kind of disappearing in the wake of it just being acceptable, normal behavior. Like there's no designation for ratchet or whatever the case may be, increasingly, because that's just becoming the norm. So like, she might be speaking to a particular demographic of men who are looking for sugar babies per se, but I kind of think that it's evolving. It's getting beyond that to where now we're just in general talking about woman seeking man, and we're talking about women who operate on the going to the club, twice, 3 times a week, or I'm at the strip club, or I'm going to NBA All-Star Weekend, and I'll be, doing all of that kind of. We're talking about that type of environment where a lot of these types of women go to try and link up with guys who will provide them or afford them with the type of lifestyle that she is characterizing in her tutorial. Excuse me. So I feel like it's going beyond sugar daddy, sugar baby syndrome, and it's really becoming fully entrenched into the very fabric of how we operate. So like it's just becoming more and more normal for women to approach relationships that way. And because men are the head and men do sort of set the tone, whether they're built to do so or not, the fact of the matter is they still do. If you allow that type of thing to become a part of whatever dynamic you have with any female, then you're gonna actually you're gonna be victimized by it. It is what it is. Not way back, a few years ago, I met a girl, and we weren't all that far apart in age, and I'm obviously not a mark, so no woman is gonna be able to siphon resources out of me, and all I get from her is time and attention. Like I don't play that game. That's ridiculous. But you have women out here to whom that's their expectation. So we hung out a couple times, and we did what we did a couple of times, and after that, she started to ask me for stuff, and I would always respond like, for what? Because it just doesn't compute with me. Like my mind doesn't work that way. Like you're not, just because I got to be with you does not mean that you are now entitled to certain privileges that like a wife or a serious girlfriend would get. Like that's not what we're doing here. But that was the way that she approached it, which was, hey, I gave you access to me, therefore I need to get this from you. That's a fair trade. To her, that was a fair trade. And this was maybe 4 years ago or so, before Megan Thee Stallion, City Girls, and when Cardi B was kind of still, first coming onto the scene. Now this sort of dynamic is really taking hold to where we have people like her making these types of videos, and it extends far beyond sugar daddy, sugar baby stuff. And it's just like, this is what I do. Like I live in the city, I go to the club 3 times a week and be ballers in the club. I'm trying to get a baller's attention. And when I get his attention, these are the games that I'm gonna play. Or, what year is it? We going to Memorial Day for Miami. We're gonna be in Miami for Memorial Day weekend. We going to Art Basel in Miami. We going to, wherever NBA All-Star is, we're gonna be there. Whatever city the Super Bowl is in that year, we're going to be there. She's speaking to that demographic of women who operate like that. That's how they live their lives.
Right.
Trying to be on the scene. You know what I'm saying? That's the existence in which they live. They probably post on Instagram 10, 15 times a day. They hitting the beach. They taking those bikini pics. all the time, which don't get me wrong, I don't have anything wrong with bikini pics or anything like that. But there's a degree of separation between the women who live within that prism and women who just do it ever so often because they just happen to go to the beach that day. But no, you have the women who are in the club all the time, at the beach all the time, going to all of the hot spots, the big time parties. They're doing this kind of stuff. They in LA, they know what rappers are gonna be in what club on what night. They're going to Rolling Loud, and they making sure that they got VIP passes. Or they're going to be at South by Southwest or one of these music festivals. We're talking about those types of women. And it's a growing conglomerate. And that's what she's speaking towards, to where it's just become a normal mainstay of the reaction between men and women. Men are a mark. And what's even worse is men accept their positions as marks, and the women take advantage of that. When Kevin Samuels, rest in peace, did his interview with Brittany Renner, Kevin Samuels during the interview was just asking her questions in the hopes that she would answer them honestly. And Brittany Renner was talking about some of the things that women got to go through, some of the double-edged swords, the catch-22s that kind of work towards women's disadvantage in the whole dating game, in the market game, in the relationship game. And she was talking about the typical things like physical objectification and women, having to be submissive, women having to accept, men who cheat, but I'm not supposed to cheat, and all of those kind of double standard stuff that women like to bring up that they get frustrated with. And Kevin Samuels was like, okay, well, what do you think about this? Like, there's always two sides of the same coin. Men basically have to live an existence in which we just have to accept that we're a mark, that the kind of woman that we can attract or what we can receive in terms of dating and relationships is based upon what our money and resources are. That's not necessarily something that is, number one, equitable. And of course, it's not something that men are particularly happy about. Like, no man is happy about the fact that my worth is tethered to my money and resources, but that's one of those realities that we kind of have to live in. And he was asking her, what do you think about that? Like, is it okay? And she was like, no, it's not okay, but it is what it is. I'm not going to stop living my life like that. So she admitted that it's not okay, but I guess to her credit, she also said it is what it is. So like, she already knows it's kind of messed up that more and more women these days are sort of inextricably gravitating towards that kind of lifestyle and are sort of only making themselves available to men to whom this dynamic works best on. Football players and basketball players and rappers and athletes and entertainers. She even specifically said football players and basketball players. Yet every man that she is associated with is either a football player or a basketball player. So it's a growing segment of the population. I don't even focus on the women because the way that I see it, these women are just taking a page out of a playbook that has worked time and time again. So if it's a playbook that we want to go away, if it's a playbook that we want to burn, the people who allow the playbook to work need to do a better job of making sure that the playbook is ineffective. Because if the playbook continues to be effective, it's only going to continue to grow in prevalence. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, this goes beyond 60-year-old men who need to take a blue pill just to do something. This is the new wave now. This is people 35 and under, 40 and under, single people out here in the game trying to figure out how to make a way. And it's like, if you don't like it, and at this point, I'm speaking specifically to men. Like, if you don't like it, you're going to have to do what you need to do to make it stop. Don't sit around complaining about the women because they're just going to take advantage of an opportunity. Like, if a job wants to give you $1 million salary to do no work, are you going to turn that down? Like, of course not. I would accept that. If some company was like, hey, we'll give you $1 million, we'll give you $1 million a year, and you ain't got to do shit, I'm going to be like, where do I sign up? So it's on the job to not offer that. It's on the company to say, we're not going to offer that position. If you want $1 million a year salary, you're going to put some work in. And so, it's all about balance and just understanding perspectives. But this goes far, in my opinion, based on what I see, this goes far beyond an exclusive subset of the population. And it just sort of, it has matriculated into the general population,
Yeah,
right?
it's become
F5 has
mainstream.
become a part of the general population,
Mhm.
and dudes who just willfully allow themselves to be marks have become a part of the general population.
Yeah, it's become mainstream. This is a mainstream, line of thinking for a lot of women right now, and they're okay with it. Um, and so, but like you said, that's what I'm saying. This is a deep topic, man. There's so many layers to this, and I would say this was the other pressing thing that I had is that this woman is an extremist. All right, so we're not talking about extremists here, but she is speaking from the feminine spectrum, and this woman is an extremist, but she's still on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And so the spectrum in which I'm talking about is the fact that they're so different than us. And one thing that men really have to understand, of course, men and women are different, blah, 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 right? But no, sir, they are completely opposite.
Yes. Yeah.
So operating off reason and logic and morals as you do, sir, she doesn't do that.
No.
She will lie to you and not blink twice. She's a straight up lie. Oh yeah, I was whatever. Oh yeah, that's just a friend. Who, him? Oh no, I just know him from work. Not
What's up,
even,
dude?
huh? Bro,
No, go
not
ahead. My internet dipped for a little bit.
oh yeah, but not even thinking twice about it. And so
Yeah.
they'll just whoop, because they already feel like they're at a disadvantage. So they'll do whatever it takes to get a leg up, and lying is one of them. And so all women, because not well, yeah, most women, I don't want to say all, most women, all right, use manipulation in order to get what they want. I mean, everybody uses manipulation to a degree, but there's like an intentional, like you said, like a mark. You're a target. So when they're looking at you, they're like, how can I scheme up a trip to wherever? How can I scheme up instead of being straight up, instead of saying, hey, I got 3, 4 guys on my phone that I talk to. Yeah. Instead of saying that, oh, well, I can't say that. Nah, man, just say it.
Yeah,
A guy be like, oh, okay, well, then I'm number 5.
yeah.
So,
Most of them, yeah.
I'm number 5.
Yeah.
What day of the week do I get?
Yeah.
We don't care, but they're out here just playing coy and all this other stuff. So as a guy, all right, especially if you're in the field, dating and pulling stuff in and all this other stuff. Hey, bro, by this point, all right, now this woman is a good example of she's an extremist, but she's a good example of how women are taking notes on how to play your ass. So when she says, hey, listen to what he's saying, and then use his strength and his weaknesses against him. Boost his ego, girl. Bah, 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 bah. And so this is why I say, hey, don't be too high, don't be too low. Because if she's sitting there gassing you up all day, you actually buying this crap. Then once you're buying it so much, she can just pull the rug. You're only hearing it from her. Then she pulls the rug from that. Now, oh man, what? And now she's got you. So her whole thing was like, yeah, build it up so you can knock it down. Then I asked for something. She has a system. So as a guy, you have to keep your logic to yourself and use your logic when they are trying to manipulate you. So when they're doing tactics, this is where your analytical skills need to come into play, and stop looking at the vagina or the breasts, and then refocus and calibrate what's coming at you. Is this an attack, or is she saying something genuine right now? Is this an attack, or is this something genuine right now? And if especially if you get a ratchet like this, and as Jay says, the ones from the club and all this other stuff, if they ain't doing nothing but playing those types of games. So why believe anything they say? Oh, you the biggest I done had. Yeah, thanks, I'll take that, but you're lying. You're lying. Oh yeah, this and this. Oh man, I ain't never had it. You probably didn't have it like this, but you probably did. So I'm not buying that either. All I know is when I go hoop, I'll be balling. I don't really need her cosign. I know what I'm doing out there. So my whole thing is, whenever these women are trying to attack your ego, whether in a positive way, don't buy it. If they're attacking your ego in an area you already feel insecure about, don't buy it. But I already felt insecure about it. I already see it's there. It's pretty obvious I'm broke as fuck. Don't buy it. You're not broke. So listening to these types of women, listening to women in general when they're trying to game you, and how do you know they're trying to game you? See, there's authentic and genuine people. You should know them by now when you meet them. And then there's people out here that try to game, scheme, and what kind of car you drive? What job you work at? Oh, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, she's checking all my specs.
Yeah, how often do you travel?
Yeah, how often do you travel? So they looking for prototypical quarterback.
It's just checking. Yeah, they're just checking on boxes.
6'4", 230, rocket arm, runs a 4.5. But this guy's really not good. They don't care. They want the specs. Shallow women, right, are for shallow men. Shallow men are for shallow women. If you are a man who has shallow tendencies, do not cuff a shallow woman that you caught in shallow water. This woman is shallow as shit. So when you caught her flopping around your shit. She was literally just flopping. These are land ones too. They just be flopping. They come to you. They're the aggressors. You didn't have to holler at her. So my whole thing is pay attention to the type of women, because she's clearly speaking of prey. She's a predator. And like how we used to call Brittany Renner, she's a predator. She's literally in the crowd, in the stands, in the trees, looking for her prey. So yeah, guys, just look out for these women. All right, not all of them. All right, women think differently than us, so they have different moral sets, and lying to them is not breaking a moral. And you're gonna have to really understand that they don't feel guilty about lying to you. All right, so that is a big thing. So yeah, man, this is a good case study. Honestly, if you're already on TikToks, honestly, go follow her. Listen to the madness that these other women are absorbing, so you don't get played by it either. So
it's just unfortunate, because it's just a lot of us, they'll follow her on TikTok and then they'll be trying to like shoot shots. See, that's the thing. Like, we've become like, it's just, I hear what you're saying, and I think all of what you said is correct. But unfortunately, over the last 10 to maybe 15 years, men have become so bitch made that it really doesn't matter. Like, you can tell a lot of dudes, you can put a lot of guys up. You can have, let's say 1,000 dudes watch this video. They will still get off of this video and get on Instagram trying to holler at Instagram models. They will just do it, and they can't control themselves. It's an impulse that they cannot control, because.
But this is my thing, and so here, and I get that, because coming from a guy who dabbles in shallow water from time to time. So my thing is when you are, sir, being shallow, you have to be here with yourself and honest with yourself that this is just glorified masturbation I'm doing with this woman.
And yeah, all of your rationalizations are fine. What I'm saying is, though, is a lot of us who are just incapable of making those rationalizations.
Well, that's why we having the approach.
I feel you. I'm just saying it's disappointing, and like, one of the things that I always say, like, what I realized quickly when it came to, like, whenever I would meet a new girl, I, at first, when I was first doing this, when I was first like in the game, I was always agonizing. Whenever a situation didn't work out, I was always agonizing over what I could have done differently in order for me to get a different result, or what could I have done to not mess it up, as if the reason why it resulted the way that it did must have been because I screwed it up. Right? It had no, it couldn't possibly have been her or something else going on. It was always, what did I do wrong? And I think a lot of guys are brainwashed into believing that there's something that you're doing to screw it up. And what I realize is oftentimes I didn't do anything wrong. Things didn't work out the way that I wanted them to because of circumstances that were beyond my control. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because you brought up the point about recognizing a shallow woman and knowing the difference between shallow and what's not shallow. And I analogize that with the point that I make about when a situation is working with a woman who's interested in you versus when it doesn't. When a girl is interested, you're not going to have to constantly ponder and strategize your next move. It's going to happen organically because it's not going to feel like work. It's not going to feel like work. It's going to be something that's second nature and simple because you're dealing with two people who are both interested parties. The moment that she is not interested is when it starts to feel like work. When you feel like you have to start saying the perfect thing, texting the perfect way, calling at the perfect time, suggesting the perfect date. Whenever you have to go through that kind of work, it's an indication that she is at the very least indifferent, but in all likelihood, she's probably not interested. And I say that when you encounter those situations, recognize it and go your own way. It's the same thing here. You understand when you're dealing with a shallow female because it's going to start to feel like you're being siphoned for resources. It's going to start to feel like you have to check off different types of boxes. It's going to start to feel like work. And the minute that it starts to feel like work is the minute that you have to exit stage left. Just get out of there when it starts to feel like work. That's when you know you're dealing with a shallow individual. When it starts to feel like work. I would imagine the same thing happens with women too. Like, any woman who feels like, I don't know, because I've heard this kind of stuff, like women who feel like they can't eat a meal or they have to drink water and eat salad all day to maintain a certain kind of body type or figure because you feel like the guy you're talking to won't like you no more if you gain 2 or 3 pounds. It's the same thing. Those are opposite sides of the same coin. I would imagine for a lot of women that feels like extraneous work. So when it starts to feel like work on that level, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe the effort is not worth it. Maybe you should just, go your own way and put your interest and attention towards a guy who doesn't make you feel like if you don't eat a Cobb salad 3 times a day, that he might start looking at other females. So, it's a give and take with all of this, but this thoughtery, all of this hyper thought rhetoric and manipulation of men and all of this kind of stuff, it's becoming more commonplace. And, that's the fear that I have. And so I always like to bring these types of things up and talk about them because if there's someone somewhere, preferably a guy, who will watch this video and be like, I'm kind of dealing with this, and this was the kick in the pants that I needed in order to not deal with it no more, then at that point, this channel did its job. And so with that, we'll move on to the next one. And so next up, this one came across the radar as well. It is it's related to the topic that we just did, but it's not exactly the same. So we've referenced the We in Miami podcast on this channel before. It provides us with a lot of content, just like Kevin Samuels used to, just like, other content creators like Fresh and Fit and all of that kind of stuff. This is just another along those lines. The We in Miami podcast. They had some woman on there. The identity of this woman is not important. What's more important is what she had to say. So she basically puts the rapper Swae Lee on blast. So for anyone who doesn't know who Swae Lee is, he's one half of the rap group Ray Shrimmered. He's one of these guys. He's one of these rappers who lives the rapper type lifestyle, apparently, slowing it up with, those types of women. He gets with the types of women who were in the previous clip that we just talked about. Those are the types of women that a guy like Swae Lee gets with. He's from the future Drake school of thought. And so This woman was on the We in Miami podcast. They asked her about whether she had hooked up with any famous people, and this was what she had to say.
Have y'all ever smashed a celebrity?
Definitely.
Who? Have y'all ever smashed a celebrity?
Definitely.
Who?
Swae Lee.
Oh shit! Shout out to Swae Lee.
That's
Shout out to
I don't
Swae
care.
Lee. That's my boy.
The experience wasn't like great. It wasn't the vibe. I like wasn't really into it. It wasn't nothing special. I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, it was a no for me. It was a no. No, I had good digging. For me, that wasn't it. I'm like, no, actually, you have to pay me for that whack ass. Like when the dick is big, your mouth is. But like my shit was like.
Oh
So
shit, my boy Swae Lee. Damn.
I don't care. I said what I said.
He gonna have beef with you after this.
I don't care. He can have beef or whatever.
We
I'm
gonna
not
get
worried
a
about
text
nothing.
tomorrow.
I'm not worried about nothing.
She ain't worried about nothing. Shrimp cocktail. That was what she described his situation as. Shrimp cocktail. So the only thing that I wanted to get, the first thing I guess that I wanted to say about this was I just want to make sure we keep that same energy. Because, and this isn't the first time I've seen this. So back in the day, the OG megadots, people like Jenna Shea, who she made a career off of sleeping with rappers. That was her thing, is being with rappers and, like NBA players, the stereotypical stuff. And she would go on podcasts and radio shows and she would talk publicly about, the encounters that she had with certain rappers. She would talk about how, Lil Wayne's privates was like this, it was like dealing with a really skinny pencil. That was one thing that, she used to say. So like these types of things would always come up and it was always funny. It was jokes like, ha ha, ha ha ha, talking about these rappers and how they can't get it down, even though they make the music that they make. Same thing with the athletes, like, ha ha ha, it's all fun and jokes and games. Let's, go ahead and publicly shame these rappers and these entertainers and these athletes and whatnot. And no one had a word to say, right? So, I just want to make note of the double standard, because if the shoe is reversed and a man is publicly speaking on a woman's weak sex game or her smelly box or her non-wet box or anything of that nature, he's going to get backlash. And there's going to be backlash for, he might get called a body shamer. He might get called a misogynist. He might get called a sexist, whatever the case may be. If the shoe is on the other foot and there's a guy on a podcast talking about a woman's weak sex game, and the woman don't even have to be famous. She can be some private chick. We don't keep the same energy, but when it's a dude, it's all fun and jokes and it's ha-has and kikis and all that kind of stuff. So, the double standard is unfortunate. However, it is real. In my opinion, based on what I've seen. And I just kind of want to ensure that we are keeping that same energy there, because from what I have seen, we don't keep the same energy. It's, bashing on the part of men who do it, but on the part of, women who do it, it's like, it's funny. It's almost like a joke. And, the theory that I have, right, is, if you want to be able to throw somebody's name through the mud, if you want to kind of throw dirt on somebody's name, if they're a straight man or a white person, no one's really going to give you flack, because I guess it's perceived that straight men and white people have kind of had their go at it for so long that now it's socially acceptable to talk bad about them because they've been able to kind of benefit off of a male-dominated, heterosexual patriarchy for so long. So now that we are in the era of social justice, we can talk about these people and it's okay. No one's going to say anything. So I feel like there's some of that going on here, where because Ray Shrimmer is a straight male, it's kind of going to be jokes whenever you have people like her going at him, embarrassing him publicly over what their encounter was like. If the shoe was on the other foot, I feel like if Swae Lee was doing that, talking about her, I feel like there would be a whole bunch of people getting on social media and podcasts talking about how Swae Lee was being, whatever, sexist, misogynistic, blah, 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 blah. So, my general point with the whole thing is let's just keep the same energy, please.
Yeah, and you speaking to the double standard is kind of like it's the same thing that we were talking about in the last one, where the girl was basically using manipulation tactics in order to guilt people into behaving how she wants them to behave. So what the social justice mob would do in the scenario that you gave is they would guilt him into making him feel bad about stuff that she would have done her damn self.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a manipulation tactic for sure, socially. And that's why social justice, we always talk about it damn near every week.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that's a social manipulation tactic. It's the same thing that the women, that the girl was talking about in the last video, that she uses in order to get people to acquiesce to her demands. And so the social justice stuff, that's what it's doing in the macro, because they're doing that to everybody, basically bullying us and shaming us into not calling it what it is. Hey, sorry, I personally don't have a preference for women that are overweight. She was overweight, so I didn't want to deal with her. That's that guy's business. Oh, right. Well, you're shaming her. You're shaming her. How am I shaming her? But what that has done, man, is that it's not really working on the people that were already living their lives, but it's definitely working on the new wave. Like you said, the ones that grew up with phones in their hand.
Yeah.
So that is definitely taking its toll on them. We'll see what the ramifications look like later. But this girl here, as far as her attempting to shame him, it's not going to, it's common thoughterry. And so listen, man, these women that live these types of lives are out they're like the Joker. There's no purpose to what they're doing. They want money, but there's really no purpose to what they're doing.
They just want to see the world burn.
They just want to see it. So what's your weakness? Just like the last girl. What's your weakness? So I can fuck it up. The weakness. Oh, that's what you don't like? You don't like, you're a jealous guy, huh? You don't like it when I talk to other men, huh? I'm going to find a way to be sneaky around you, so now you can see me talking to other men. Now you trying to get through my phone. Got your ass.
Yeah.
It's a manipulation. It's a game. No, they ain't thinking that far ahead, bro. They're playing chess.
Yeah.
And they have to, because we're the men. Oh, men are funny. Women aren't. Men play better at basketball. Women don't. So you so masculine. Men are better than women, right? All the time. What do you think they feel? So how do you think they're going to level the playing field, bro? So the way that they have to level the playing field is by attacking our ego. Is by attacking our insecurities. And so again, man, the not too high, not too low. If Mr. Swae Lee is not too high, not too low, these comments just roll straight off of his back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah, they roll straight off his back, because who is she? Yeah, something that I don't even remember this girl. I don't know. Oh yeah, man, you don't remember me? Girl, I'm everywhere, and my security people just be bringing people to me. You ain't nobody special. So this woman here knows that she's not something special. That's why she's got a name drop. That's why it's the insecurities that live within her that makes her try to exploit someone else. So whenever I see these hurt people attempting to try to hurt other people, it is a sad thing to see, honestly. And what we've been speaking about earlier is that there's actually a growing populace of these women, and some of them aren't even hurt. They're attempting to still be this way, even though they're not hurt, like the girls that are out there doing.
And that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And so they got our generation, or and seceding ones, sagging our pants, selling drugs in the street, shooting our own people, acting like mad people. Everything that comes on a radio, whether it's whoever owns it or not, it's the same thing that we're saying every song is perpetuating the same foolishness that we've been given. So the men are out here doing the madness. That's why we're struggling with incarceration rates and all this other stuff because, well, hell, this is how you be a man. So even if there was a boy that was raised the right way, had no business of even doing that, now he's out here with a pocket full of stones because he's trying to keep up with the Joneses. And so now he's out here trying to do whatever. Now he's getting bam. Now he's doing, 25 to life. And he was raised well. And so now these girls are getting the same back end treatment. So we was out here banging and stuff like that. Now they're out here super thoughting it up. And so this is the other side. This is the women's form of mind control that's on full display right now. And so now there's girls out there that were raised right that feel like they got to go out there and manipulate and try to get a man to trick off.
Yes.
And so
I've met them.
Yeah. And it's like, hey man, it might have been some girls that was on the fringe, wholesome little thottish. But with Hot Girl Summer and anthems, all these anthems banging that they don't deal with men and let's just take his money, girl. Yeah, if she was on the fringe, well, hell, she might be teetering over on the wrong side now. And so, yeah, that's why the statistics and stats are growing because it's not like, we got parents out there that aren't really trying. They're still dual parent households or single ones where the parents are really trying their best to raise the right kind of kids. But it's madness of put out in the world where they're just getting manipulated by their peers and whatever is going on TikToks and Instagrams. So this woman here, genuine reflection of today's mainstream woman. And this girl here, that's why she's cropped looking like this. Because this is like, man, if I seen this girl picture somewhere and it's like swipe left, swipe right, it's like, what? Which direction is no? And then I'm swiping that direction because
they'll bring it back on your profile. They'll bring it back somehow. They'll just circle back around. Like, how? How did this get back on here?
Yeah, I've been on here this long. I don't know.
Dude, like, no, for real. Like, and that was the point that I was trying to make in the previous topic was. Yeah. This is something that extends far beyond what you would describe as the prototypical upbringing or environment of the person who you would think would be subjected to this kind of stuff. And it's just becoming more, to use the word that you use, mainstream. Mm-hmm. Like this is just the general behavior of everything and everybody. Like this is just the way it goes. Yeah. And so the only thing that I've been saying, and I'll continue to say it, is as a society, if we decide collectively that we're okay with that, then it is what it is. But what I'm hearing is a lot of complaining that we don't like this. So if that's the case, then the individuals who are doing the complaining have to understand the responsibility that they play and why chicks like this feel emboldened enough to, throw this guy out there on Front Street like that. Because, look, and just to kind of bring it back to what you were just saying, I would not be surprised one bit if she grew up with two parents. If she grew up in a two-parent household where both of her parents been married for 40 years, and she went through all her school. She might be college educated. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. People are at the mercy of the social media and the entertainment machine. Yeah, and it's so ubiquitous, you can't escape it. Mm-hmm. So unless you were taught some of the principles that would enable you to exercise good judgment, you're not going to be powerful enough to sidestep that. You're going to fall right in line and conform. Conformity is the big thing. And it's so interesting because there was a generation, you know, it's like my older brother's generation. That was the generation of non-conformity, of going out of your way to not do what everybody else is doing. And I feel like we reverted back to conformity, where everyone is doing everything that they're seeing. So it's like, oh, this is trending. Let me make my version of this video. This is doing this, or let me do my version of that. And it trickles down into the madness when it comes to this type of behavior. It's like, well, you know, even though I grew up not a part of this, I'm still going to fall in line with, you know, the club scene and the NBA All-Star scene. I'm going to get all my tattoos. I'm probably going to get my ass surgeries, and I'm going to, you know, do all of that kind of stuff. And I'm going to live in that type of lifestyle. And I'm going to have run-ins with these rappers. And when I get treated the same way that these rappers treat every other female, now I'm going to exercise the license to talk about it publicly and make it seem like he's the one who looks bad, and I'm the one who came out looking like the victor, as if both individuals involved didn't lose. Exactly. So, you know, I just kind of wanted to put this out there. I don't even really know if there's much more meat on it. I just kind of wanted to say to keep the same energy, because the double standard is something that I feel like, well, if we're all in this and we're all throwing feces at each other's faces, if someone throws feces at me, then I want to be able to throw feces back. And right now, it's like the feces has only been thrown one way. So I'm just letting y'all know that the world that I live in, the door swings both ways. So the second I get a pile of feces thrown at me, you can expect a pile of feces getting thrown right back.
Yeah, and to speak on what you was saying as far as like the progeniting behaviors.
Yeah.
And so yesterday I'm online and I'm looking at posts. I saw 2 different posts from 2 different women, and they were complaining about how zesty or how sassy some of the men are on the apps, you know, when they're dancing and stuff, or when they're doing other things. And they were basically like, oh, you know, be a man kind of thing. And it's too late, and it's too late for that. And so the reason being is we weren't the people liking those posts, man. So when those guys are out there being super zesty and super sassy when they're dancing like that, I'm sure there's a population of men who enjoy this, fine. But the overwhelming majority of it is coming from women. They're the ones laughing at these jokes where the guy's putting a wig on and leggings and all, doing all this other stuff. And then you're wondering why other men aren't doing it. So it's the same thing. It's like how we talked about the thottish behavior. Hey, we can't complain about the thottish behavior if we're out here liking the pictures.
Right.
And so now we're creating a way, and now you want to complain that there's not wholesome women? Stop liking the thought pictures. And so the same thing for these women out here that may feel some type of way, like, damn, where are the like men at though? Because you're shaking your hips better than me at this point. I don't want that. Oh no, you don't? It's so wild, bro.
Yeah.
They want a man, but at the same time they want him to be emotional, and they want him to be all this duck stuff. No, you don't want a duck. And I don't know where you got all this stuff that you want a duck. But that's not what your intuition is telling you. And your intuition is telling you that I don't want my man rolling his ass in a circle. I don't know why that's not appealing to me as a woman, but that's a turnoff. Oh, really? So then you want that other stuff that comes with that. And so those are the things that you would also call toxic.
Yes.
And so the madness of which that they've been filtered these lines of thought that are not congruent. You can't even string them together. As soon as you start stringing them together, they fall apart. So it's like, hey, how are you going to get across this bridge if none of these things are stringing together? So you're going to be stuck in one spot all the time, trying to look for this unicorn man who can cry at a ballet and strangle a bear.
Yeah.
And then make make millions of dollars.
Right.
So good luck finding that guy.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't want you to cook or clean either. So good luck. So the gladiator Viking man you're looking for, that's also sensitive.
Yeah, in touch with his emotions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense.
All right, man. So the double standards, as we talked about, they go both ways, and as we've seen in this discussion here, that women have their corresponding foolishness that they've bought into. Because we be talking about the men's side too, but hell, they've clearly bought into a foolish rhetoric themselves, and a one that doesn't benefit them at all. So,
yeah, I hear you, and I'm with you. I agree. It's just it's hilarious, man. I just kind of I find it to be funny. I remember one time I was working, and this will be the last thing I'll say. I was back before the pandemic when I was actually physically at my office, and I would talk to one of the girls who I work with, because we would get into conversations like this, and I kind of asked her one day because she was talking about BS with men and women and blah blah blah, and woe is me, I can't find this and that and da 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 da. And so I was like, well, you buy into all of this feminism stuff, like you're a staunch feminist, and yet you're wondering why you're experiencing difficulties. And I was like, don't you realize how much of a fallacy at least modern feminism actually is? Because I asked her, okay, answer me these questions straight up. Do you feel as though a guy should approach you? She was like, yeah. I was like, do you feel as though a guy should assert himself? And like, if you're out in a crowded area, you see a guy and you like him, and whose responsibility is it to approach the other person and make that initial interaction? She was like, oh, he's supposed to do that. I was like, okay, so it's the guy's job to approach you. It's the guy's job to assert. Do you have an expectation that the guy pays for your dates? Yeah. And I was like, okay, do you have an expectation that the guy, has decent manners about him, is some kind of chivalrous, holds the door open, pays you compliments, all of that good stuff? Do you have that expectation? She's like, well, yeah. And I was like, well, then why do you subscribe to so much feminism rhetoric when feminism rhetoric supposedly is about equitability? Because if it was truly about equitability, then you would do those same things at the same rate that men do. But clearly you don't believe in that because you still think that men should be doing all of that stuff. So it really has nothing to do with what's equitable, and it has everything to do with you wanting what you want, but you still being able to retain all of the things that benefit you. And so, that's what a lot of this stuff is about here, these double standards. Like, we just want what we want, and we want to not have to deal with the ramification. Like, everything has good and bad parts. So if you want what you want, you're going to have to deal with all of the negative ancillary parts that come along with that. You can't just get everything you want and not deal with the bad stuff. That's when you start crying about double standards. And that's what we all do. Males and females do that. I feel like females do it more because, as you just outlined, you get these women who talk about how they want the perfect archetype of a man. And generally speaking, when they get the man who has all the aspects that they complain about when it comes to the double standard, they find themselves intrinsically unattracted to them. Because at the end of the day, those guys tend to not be masculine and all the other things that you inherently want more or the most. Exactly. But the double standards are all over the place. I just find them hilarious. And yeah, it is what it is. I'm just somebody who lives outside that bubble, so I'm all about the same energy. I don't really buy into the idea that, like I said, you can throw feces at my face, but then I can't throw feces back. We gonna be some feces throwing people out here, if that's the case. Like, that's just how I see it. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure, like you said, Swae Lee ain't tripping. He got 10, 20 other fitness models and Instagram thoughts in his rotation, so he ain't tripping about this one. Exactly. You got something to say about him on some, podcast.
He's just a hater.
Yeah. She's probably just mad because she didn't jump to number one in his playlist.
What I'm saying?
So she's acting out because she ain't number one in the playlist. But It is what it is, man. Shouts out to Swae Lee, man. I used to like some of them Ray Shrimmer songs from back in the day. I don't really know what happened with Ray Shrimmer, but their early stuff used to be slapping. So
I don't know why too. It was like, damn, this shit fire. It's like low key fire, then it grows on you even more, and it's like, man, these jits are all right, man.
Yeah, I think it mostly has something to do with
Mike Will.
Yes, yeah. I think it was mostly him. I think he was the reason why.
Nah, the beats were stupid, bro.
Yeah, that guy was out of control.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll do it for this week, man. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. As usual, man, it's all about supporting logical content. If you like this video, if you appreciated the content or the commentary in this video, do hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications whenever new content is published to the channel. Certainly appreciate it. You can follow the Conscious Approach page on Instagram at ConApproach, CONAPPROACH. And then, we also post the videos to other channels as well, mainly on Facebook. So if you happen to be watching this video on that, like the page, but also share the video as well. Comment wherever you're seeing this video. We certainly appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. You can also check out all the relevant links in the description of this and every other video. So, you can find me on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. Certainly appreciate the support on every other social channel as well, JVWins, JVWINS. Until the next time, please continue to support logical content.
Yes, sir. And the name is Dogon SS, and you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube's at Dogon SS or any other social media platform. All right, just Dogon_SS. I'm there lurking somewhere. All right, go ahead and subscribe, follow, whatever it is that's going on. I'll likely do it back. All right, if I still get on the app. So if it's Twitter, send it though. I get on that every 3 months.
Yeah. I only look at it when I get notifications. Yeah.
But yeah, man, just keep it calm, man. Keep it chill, keep it clear, and don't be too high, don't be too low, man. Because guess what, guys? Today we had a good example of how people can use that against you. All right?
Yeah.
So I'm not just saying that to blow smoke, man. So keep it even kill, man, and don't let nobody get you off your pivot, bro.
Yeah, those are all facts, man. And until the next time, we're gonna sign off. Until we get on to the next video, man. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you later.